at a certain moment she said something like, if God had a voice, he had a voice, who had the voice of Andrea Bocelli.
There are voices you hear once and never forget. Andrea Bocelli's is one of them. But this isn't the story of a singer. It's the story of a man who was never supposed to see the world, yet taught it how to feel. A boy born fragile, wrapped in shadow before he ever saw light. And a man who turned that very darkness into something eternal. When Andrea Bocelli sings, you don't just hear a tenor. You hear resilience, loss, faith, love, and a lifetime carved from silence. He came from the soil of Tuscany, a place of sunlit hills and quiet prayers. His mother was told he might never survive, that he might be born broken. But she refused to listen. She carried him, not because the doctors said she should, but because love said she must. And from that defiance, a miracle was born, September 22nd, 1958. Andrea opened his eyes into a world he could barely see. A faint glow, a few outlines. That was all the light he ever had. But what nature took from him in sight, it returned tenfold in sound. Every breeze through the vineyards, every crack of the soil, every folk song drifting from the neighbors' fields became his vision. Music painted what his eyes could not. Then, at 12, came the moment that could have ended everything. A soccer ball, a single strike, a brain hemorrhage. And then, darkness, the final curtain on sight, dropped without warning. But that's the thing about destiny. It doesn't always whisper in comfort. Sometimes, it screams through pain. And in that darkness, Andrea heard something that would change everything. A record by the great Franco Corelli. A voice so powerful, it made the blind boy tremble. How can anyone sing like that? He asked. That question became his compass. He learned piano, flute, trumpet, drums. He studied law by day and played smoky bars by night. Those bars, thick with smoke, laughter, and spilled wine, became his battlefield. He sang over noise, over indifference, until silence fell, and all that was left was his voice. Those nights paid little, but they gave him something far more precious: endurance. He once said, "The piano bars were my gymnasium." That's where he learned to survive, not by being heard, but by refusing to be ignored. Then fate knocked, disguised as opportunity. 1992. An Italian rock singer, Zucchero, needed a tenor for a demo. Andrea walked in, sat at the piano, and sang Miserere. When Luciano Pavarotti heard it, he said, "Why do you need me when you have him?" In that instant, everything changed. The boy from Tuscany, blind, poor, unknown, had caught the ear of a legend. It was as if destiny finally said, "Now." From there, the rise was meteoric. Sanremo, the albums, Time to Say Goodbye. A song that didn't just sell millions, it healed millions. You could play it at funerals, weddings, or in lonely nights, and it would feel like it was written for you. That's the power of Bocelli. He doesn't sing to you, he sings from within you. But fame never arrives without a shadow. Behind the spotlight, his heart was breaking quietly, long before stadiums roared with his name. He had found love in a piano bar, Enrica Sensati. She was 17. He was a dreamer singing for coins and hope. She heard him and said, his voice silenced the room and it silenced me. They married in 1992, just as the storm of fame began to rise. 2 children came, Amos and Matteo, and for a while, life looked perfect. But fame has a cruel price. While his songs filled cathedrals, silence filled their home. Dinners went cold. night stretched empty. The applause grew louder, but his marriage grew quieter. In 2002, after 10 years, it ended. Without scandal, without bitterness, just heartbreak. He once said softly, "She gave me 2 sons and 10 years of my life. I will never speak ill of her." That's how you recognize a man of grace. Even in loss, he refuses to wound. That divorce was not an ending. It was a wound that taught him how to love again. And then, Veronica. She entered his life like dawn breaking through fog. He was 44. She was 18. But love doesn't ask permission. He called it love at first sight. And from that moment, she never left his side. They took their time, over a decade of devotion, before they married in 2014. And together they built something rare, not a romance born of drama, but of daily devotion. Their daughter, Virginia, was born in 2012, a small miracle who changed everything. Her laughter filled the silence that had once haunted his house. And in 2020, the world saw them sing Hallelujah together, father and daughter, light and legacy. Her voice was small, but fearless. Andrea held her close, and for a moment, the man who had lived a lifetime in darkness stood bathed in light. But fame never stops testing the soul. In 2020, Andrea spoke out, not as a celebrity, but as a weary man, questioning Italy's strict lockdowns. His words spread like wildfire. Some called him careless, others called him courageous. But behind the headlines was not a rebel, just a father, longing for freedom, for family, for the music that kept him alive. He later said quietly, "I spoke out of emotion, not disrespect." That humility, that quiet humanity, is what the world keeps forgetting. Andrea Bocelli is not a symbol. He's a man who still trembles before he sings. A man who still prays before every show. A man who still doubts, still feels, still hopes. Today, at 66, he lives between music and memory. In his villa by the Tuscan Sea, waves crash beneath his window, mingling with the sound of his piano. There, surrounded by vineyards, family, and faith, he has found balance, the harmony fame once stole. His sons have become his reflection. Amos, quiet and disciplined, the mind of an engineer, but the soul of a musician. Matteo, his mirror, a voice echoing his father's warmth, but carved with his own fire. Their duet, Fall on Me, was not just a song. It was inheritance. A father passing his voice, his life, into the next generation. And then there's Virginia, the light he never saw, but always believed in. The child who reminds him daily that even when the eyes are blind, the heart still sees. When Andrea sings now, it feels different. Not like a performance, but like a promise, a vow renewed between a man and his faith. He no longer sings to prove anything. He sings to give. And perhaps that's why his voice has outlived the decades. Because it isn't just powerful, it's pure. Every note carries a story of a boy who lost sight, a man who lost love, and a father who found light again. His legacy isn't the villa by the sea, the awards, or the fame. It's the proof that even in darkness, light can still sing. So when his voice fills the air with time to say goodbye, remember, you're not hearing a song. You're hearing the sound of pain turned into beauty. You're hearing the proof that faith, family, and love are stronger than any blindness. Andrea Bocelli did not escape the night. He became its light. And through him, the world learned that even when eyes cannot see, the soul still can. If his songs have ever steadied your heart, tell us which one. Because somewhere, in a quiet Tuscan evening, Andrea Bocelli is still singing. Not for fame, not for applause, but for you.